Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In this video, we got something huge. This is super big. This is how most people close deals, right? This is how all those people, they make all the money, right, in sales. First of all, like and subscribe, but you have to believe in yourself in sales. The self-belief advantage. I want to start with a statement that might completely change how you think about sales. Most salespeople, they don't have a sales problem, guys. What they have actually is a self-belief problem. It's not a sales problem, it's a self-belief problem. So most people spend years chasing, fine-tuning their scripts, better closes, better rebuttals, better leads, better products. Yet two salespeople can have the same script, the same product, and the same training, but always different results. They produce dramatically different results. Why? Because sales is not just a transfer of information, it's a transfer of emotion. It's a transfer of self-belief. And certainty, it's not possible without self-belief. And sales is also a transfer of certainty, right? So, let's go to module 1. The question that changed everything for me, right? The question that changed everything for me. It's certainly going to change everything for you once I give it to you. But I want you to think about the best salesperson you've ever met, right? What made them different? Was it their script? Usually not, right? Was it their product knowledge? Well, probably not. Not really. Was it their objection handling? Partially. But there was something deeper. They believed. Not in a motivational speaker way, not in a fake positive thinking way, but guys, they genuinely believed. I mean, they believed in themselves. They believed in their ability. They believed they could figure things out. They believed that they could handle rejection. They believed that, hey, I can recover from this failure. And they do, and they did, right? And that's why they're winning right now. They believed. They belonged in the room. So your prospects need to feel that. The prospects should always feel that. Let's go to the next module. I call this the biggest lie about confidence, right? Most people believe confidence works like this. Belief, action, results. If I believed in myself more, I'd make the calls. If I believed in myself more, I'd start the business. If I believed in myself more, I'd ask for the sell. But that's not how confidence is built. The real formula is actually action creates evidence, which creates belief in oneself. Confidence is not the cause, confidence is result. Nobody feels confident making their first sales call. Nobody feels confident asking for their first sale. Nobody feels confident launching their first business. Nobody feels confident shooting their first video. I know I didn't. Go watch the first one. Got a hat on, look hidden. Can't even see me, right? Confidence comes afterward. Confidence is the receipt. Action is the purchase, right? All right, let's go to the next module. Your mind is a courtroom. What do I mean by that? So one of the most powerful ideas I've ever come across is this, right? Your mind operates like a courtroom. Every single day is evidence being presented. You tell yourself, I'm disciplined. Your mind responds, well, show me the evidence, buddy. Right? You tell yourself, I'm a leader. Your mind responds, show me the evidence, buddy. You tell yourself, I'm capable of building $1 million business. Your mind's going to respond, well, show me the evidence, right? I want to see it. Your subconscious does not care about your intentions. It cares about your history. Every promise kept is evidence. Every promise broken, guys, it's evidence. So you can't do that to yourself. Every difficult conversation, it's evidence. Every uncomfortable decision, it's evidence. Every sales call, it's evidence. Every excuse, just more evidence for the subconscious. And eventually, that jury's going to reach a verdict, right? Let's go to the next module. Why Carl Jung matters so much to sales. Carl Jung believed that most salespeople live divided lives, right? Part of them wants success, part of them wants comfort, part of them wants growth, part of them wants safety, part of them wants greatness, part of them wants permission, and this is what is called internal conflict. And what's that do? That creates hesitation. Think about what happens when a prospect says, I need to think about it. Immediately a battle starts, right? One voice says, ask another question. Another voice says, don't push. One voice says, well, let them lead. Another voice might say, well, what if they don't like me, right? One voice says, challenge their thinking. Another voice says, play it safe. So most salespeople, they lose right there. Not because of skill, but because they're divided. So Jung's lesson is simple. You cannot become powerful while you're at war with yourself. So we got to get all that stuff figured off the phone before we ever hop on the phone. So we got to go to war with ourselves, or whether that's reading the books, working out, doing the things we say, going to all the events. You have to hold yourself accountable, or else it shows in your sales call. All right, the next module, why rejection doesn't destroy confidence. I already know I'm going to get told no. It's part of the game, right? So one thing that I've really learned is rejection doesn't destroy your confidence. It reveals your confidence because rejection exposes what's already living inside of you, right? Two salespeople lose the same deal. One of them's over here poopy pants thinking I wasn't good enough, right? The other thinks, that's awesome, that's interesting. What can I learn from that deal, right? Same event, different meaning, different future. And you think about Marcus Aurelius. He understood this 2,000 years ago, right? The event itself is neutral. The meaning you assign to it determines your experience. The prospect didn't buy. That's a fact. Everything after that is just interpretation, right? Let's move to the next module right here, the Bandura discovery. Psychologist Albert Bandura discovered something that changed performance psychology forever. He called it basically... can't think of the word, darn it, but that doesn't matter. The belief in your ability to produce results. You have to believe in your ability to produce results. So self-efficacy, that's what it is, self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is the ability to believe in yourself to produce those results. And what he found in that research was that the greatest source of confidence wasn't praise, it wasn't motivation, it wasn't intelligence, it wasn't talent. It was something called mastery experiences. Mastery experiences. What does that mean? The meaning of that is the strongest source of confidence is proving to yourself that, in fact, yes, I can do difficult things. How do you teach yourself you can do difficult things? You have to put yourself through hell, and through that hell, you're going to discover, I can do it. What is that? Just a lot of sales calls. The more sales calls you take, the better. And not reading sales books, not thinking about them, not even watching my videos, not visualizing them, but actually getting on the phone and doing it over and over and over and over again. And eventually your skill will be insane because you've handled so many calls, you've been in so many different conversations that you're basically unbeatable, right? People can throw objections at me all day, I just beat them. It's insane. All right, the next module. Let's talk about toughness, right? Toughness in sales. You think about people, right? Every run, every workout, every challenge, every hardship, every time you want to quit but you don't, right? What happens is you're making deposits, right? Most people are trying to withdraw confidence from an account they never even funded. So you got to do all those hard things. It's basically like putting money into a bank, right? And you do that day after day, year after year until the evidence, it becomes undeniable. Right? At some point, your mind has to surrender to reality. This is who we are. That's what we want the subconscious saying. So the more sales calls you take, the more you close, the more confidence you'll get. Before you know it, you'll hop on the calls and what's the problem? What's going on here? Why do you need my services? Boom, sell the outcome, close the deal. All right, let's go to the next module. The real reason salespeople stay stuck, right? What's the real reason? This is where it gets uncomfortable, right? Most salespeople do not have a skill problem. You have a self-image problem. So deep down somewhere, you don't actually think you're worth six figures. You don't think you're worth seven figures. You don't think you're capable of greatness. You don't think you're capable of leading a sales team. So what ends up happening is unconsciously, you behave in ways that confirm those beliefs. See, you don't follow up enough. You don't ask enough questions. You don't challenge prospects enough. You don't ask for the sale enough. You don't stretch yourselves enough, right? Then what ends up happening is you point to the results as proof, right? But the results were created by your identity. So you got to shift your identity and start behaving like a salesperson that's elite, and an elite salesperson does all the right things. You already know what to do, right? You already know what to do. You just need to do it. Stop being lazy. Quit taking shortcuts. Let's go to the next module. So why does conviction close? Why does certainty close deals? So the more, you just got to think, if you're going into war with someone's hesitant, but the other person's convinced they're going to win, you're going to go with the person who's convinced not going to go with the person who's timid, right? Wouldn't make any sense. So think about the strongest salesperson you ever met. When they spoke, like you felt what they were saying. When they asked a question, you felt it. When they challenged assumptions, you felt that. When they recommended solutions, you felt it. What were you feeling, though? You were feeling certainty. You weren't feeling their arrogance, their ego, but their confidence. And that confidence is contagious. People borrow confidence from people who possess it, right? That's why the prospect often cannot believe in your solution more than you can believe in your solution. It almost never can happen. And they usually cannot believe in you more than you believe in yourself. That doesn't even make any sense, right? So let's go to the next module right here. My theory of self-belief. Okay, so after years in sales, reading sales books, doing sales, taking millions of sales calls, training hundreds of salespeople, doing the psychology, all the philosophy, performance stuff. Here's what I believe, that self-belief is not confidence. Self-belief is trust. Confidence is emotional. Trust is earned. Confidence fluctuates, right? Well, trust compounds. So confidence can be fake, but trust cannot. Every time you keep your word, you build trust. Every time you do something difficult, what happens is you build more trust, more trust, more trust. Every time you survive rejection, right, you build trust. Every time you follow through when you don't feel like it, you build trust. And eventually, trust becomes belief. So the self-belief formula is vision plus evidence plus self-trust equals self-belief. So look at it like this. Vision gives you direction. Evidence proves you're capable. Self-trust makes the belief permanent. When these three combine, your identity changes. When your identity changes, your actions change. When your actions change, your results change, right? So the greatest salespeople I've ever met weren't necessarily the smartest. Half of them aren't, right? They weren't necessarily the most talented. They never are. And they're not the most gifted, but they all share one thing in common. They trusted themselves. They trusted themselves to handle objections. They trusted themselves to recover from rejection. They trusted themselves to adapt, right? They trusted themselves to learn. They trusted themselves to figure it out. And because they trusted themselves, right, prospects trusted them too. So you have to stop chasing, right? You have to stop waiting until you feel ready. Just get on and start reaching out to the business owners. Start making the calls, right? Get in the game with them. And if you feel like this video helped you, go ahead and like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. And make sure you check us out at Universal Accounting Center. Beautiful certifications. Got tax, bookkeeping, advisory. So we'll see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed it.